In a dusty town where broken cars lined the streets and dreams often rusted away, there lived a mechanic named Adam. His hands were skilled, but luck had not been kind to him lately. The old garage where he worked for 15 years had shut down after the owner passed away, and Adam found himself jobless. Every morning, he would walk past his closed workplace, the faded sign swinging in the wind, a painful reminder of better days. He tried to find work, fixing small things for neighbors or offering to repair old bicycles for kids, but the jobs were rare, and the money was even rarer. His small savings were running out, but Adam refused to give up. He knew that even when everything looked broken, sometimes you could still fix it. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, Adam sat outside the abandoned garage, tinkering with an old radio someone had thrown away. That's when he noticed a young boy sitting quietly on the curb, watching him. The boy, who looked about 10 years old, had a shy smile and a missing right arm. His clothes were clean but worn, and there was a deep sadness in his eyes that Adam could not ignore. Without a word, the boy pulled out a small, crumpled paper from his pocket and handed it to Adam. It was a drawing, a stick figure with two arms reaching out to the sky. Adam felt a lump rise in his throat. He asked the boy his name, and in a soft voice, the boy said, "Daniel." Daniel's grandmother came rushing over, apologizing for bothering Adam. She explained that Daniel was born without his right arm, and they could never afford a prosthetic. Medical equipment was expensive, and their limited means could barely cover food and rent. Adam listened carefully, feeling a mix of sadness and determination bubbling inside him. As they left, Daniel turned back one more time and gave Adam a hopeful look that said more than any words could. That night, Adam couldn't sleep. The boy's hopeful eyes haunted him. He kept thinking about the drawing, about the simple wish hidden in it. Maybe, just maybe, he could help. He spent the next morning digging through piles of junk behind the garage. There were old cars, broken appliances, scraps of metal, useless to most people but treasured to someone who knew how machines breathed. Adam wasn't an engineer, but he understood how things worked. If he could fix a broken engine, maybe he could build an arm too. He set up a small workspace inside the empty garage, using a battered wooden table and a flickering lamp. It wasn't much, but it was enough. He pulled out old power window motors, door hinges, springs from bicycles, and even parts from a discarded wheelchair. Slowly, an idea began to form in his mind. The human arm, after all, was just another type of machine: joints, levers, movement. He could work with that. Days turned into nights as Adam worked nonstop. He had no fancy equipment, no computer designs, and no expensive tools. Just his hands, his mind, and the dream of giving Daniel a chance to hug his grandmother properly. The first attempts were rough. The fingers wouldn't move right. The grip was too weak. The weight was wrong. But Adam didn't give up. Every failure taught him something new. He would make adjustments, tweak the designs, and try again. His clothes grew dirty, his fingers blistered, but he smiled through it all. He was chasing something bigger than himself. On the fifth night, after countless failures, Adam finally created a prototype that moved just enough to give him hope. He had built a simple hand with a motor inside the wrist, powered by an old rechargeable battery. When pressure was applied by the stump of the arm, the fingers would open and close. It was not perfect, but it worked. Adam stared at it for a long time, hardly believing what he had made from trash. He imagined Daniel picking up a baseball, holding his grandmother's hand, feeling like every other kid. That thought made him laugh out loud, a joyful sound that echoed through the empty garage. The next morning, Adam hurried to find Daniel. He visited the neighborhood where he had seen him before and asked around. After some time, he found Daniel playing with a group of kids, using only his left hand. When Daniel saw Adam, he ran over, excitement written all over his face. Adam knelt down and showed him the handmade prosthetic. Daniel's eyes widened, his mouth opening in awe. Carefully, Adam helped him strap it on. It was a rough fit, but it stayed in place. Adam guided Daniel's movements, teaching him how to flex his muscles to open and close the fingers. The first time Daniel managed to grab a small rubber ball, he let out a laugh so pure and happy that Adam felt his heart lift for the first time in months. Daniel's grandmother, tears in her eyes, hugged Adam tightly. She offered to pay him somehow, but Adam refused. "This is a gift," he said simply. "No one should have to pay to feel whole." Word spread quickly in the small town. People began to gather around the garage, curious about what Adam had done. Some came to see the arm, some to bring parts they thought might help, and others just to thank him for restoring a piece of their faith and kindness. Adam became a quiet hero, though he never asked for attention or reward. He continued to refine the prosthetic, making small improvements each day, making it lighter, smoother, and easier to control. One morning, while Adam was tightening the screws on Daniel's prosthetic hand, a strange sound filled the air. It was a low thumping noise, growing louder by the second. People looked up, shielding their eyes from the sun. A black helicopter appeared in the sky, heading straight for their small town. It circled once, then hovered over the old, empty football field next to the garage before slowly landing. Dust and debris flew everywhere, and people backed away, confused and a little scared. Adam stood frozen, wiping his greasy hands on his jeans, watching the helicopter with wide eyes. He had never seen anything like this before. Out of the helicopter stepped a tall man in a clean suit, followed by two others carrying briefcases. They looked around, spotting the crowd, and walked straight towards Adam. The man extended his hand and introduced himself as Mr. Raymond, a representative of a large medical technology company. He had heard about Adam's work through a video someone had posted online, a video of Daniel catching a ball with his new arm, smiling like the happiest boy on earth. Mr. Raymond spoke with calm authority, telling Adam that what he had done was nothing short of miraculous. He said the company wanted to work with Adam to help him build more prosthetics for children in need all over the country, maybe even the world. Adam couldn't believe what he was hearing. Just a few weeks ago, he was a jobless mechanic, forgotten by the world. Now, because he refused to let a broken system stop him, because he believed in fixing things and never giving up, a door to a whole new future was opening. He glanced at Daniel, who was waving his new arm proudly at the helicopter. Adam smiled. Maybe life was like a broken machine after all you needed was the right hands to fix it. Adam stood near the helicopter, feeling like he had stepped into a dream he never even knew he had. The dust slowly settled, and the crowd began to disperse, but Daniel stayed close, looking up at Adam with pure pride. Mr. Raymond explained that their company had been searching for innovative minds who could create affordable prosthetics. Most modern prosthetics were too expensive for regular families, but what Adam had made from old car parts and scrap metal showed a different way. They wanted to fly Adam to their headquarters for a meeting. At first, Adam hesitated. This was all too sudden, and he had no fancy clothes, no degrees or certificates to show. He was just a mechanic who loved fixing broken things. But when he looked at Daniel, when he thought about all the kids who could get their dreams back because of something he could build, he found the courage to say yes. Within an hour, Adam was sitting inside the helicopter, looking down at his small town shrinking away beneath him. His heart pounded with a mix of excitement and fear. The city where they were headed was huge compared to anything Adam had known. When the helicopter landed on the rooftop of a tall, glass building, Adam felt completely out of place. The men in suits guided him through shining hallways and into a large conference room filled with people. There were screens on the walls showing high-tech designs of robotic arms and legs, and men and women in white coats were discussing technical terms Adam barely understood. He swallowed hard, feeling the grease under his fingernails and the patches on his jeans. But he remembered why he was there. It was not about fancy degrees. It was about doing what needed to be done. At the meeting, Adam listened carefully as the company executives explained their vision. They wanted him to join their new project focused on low-cost prosthetics for children in poor communities. They showed him graphs and reports about how many kids lived without hope because they couldn't afford artificial limbs. Adam's heart ached with every number he saw. The executives offered him a proper lab, assistance, and all the tools he would need. They would help him turn his handmade ideas into real production models. In return, they wanted him to sign a contract giving them the rights to his designs. Adam paused. He thought about how he had built the arm for Daniel without expecting anything in return. He thought about the families who trusted him because he was one of them. It was not just about making a fancy product. It was about keeping it simple, affordable, and honest. After a long moment, Adam told them he needed time to think. They respected his decision and offered him a place to stay for the night. The guest room was more luxurious than anything Adam had ever known. He stared out the window at the endless city lights, feeling small but determined. In the morning, instead of going back to the boardroom, Adam asked to visit a local children's hospital. He wanted to see the faces of the kids he might help. When he walked into the hospital ward, he saw children in wheelchairs, children missing arms or legs, some playing games with each other, some just sitting quietly. A little girl named Mia waved at him with her one hand. Adam knelt beside her, talking gently, and asked if she would like to have an arm that could help her hold her toys better. Her shy nod and bright smile sealed Adam's decision. Returning to the company, Adam sat across from Mr. Raymond and the other executives. He told them he would agree to work with them, but under two conditions. First, the prosthetics had to remain affordable for any family who needed them. Second, he wanted part of the production to be done by training local mechanics like himself, giving jobs to people who understood fixing things even without fancy degrees. At first, there was hesitation. Big companies liked big profits. But Mr. Raymond smiled and said he believed Adam's ideas could create a new kind of market, one based on heart as well as business. They shook hands, and Adam officially joined the project. Within weeks, Adam found himself working in a real lab, but he still wore his old jeans and work boots. The engineers at first looked at him strangely. This man who measured things by eye and trusted his hands more than computers. But when they saw the prototypes he built from scratch, faster and cheaper than their machines could, they began to respect him. Adam taught them how to use scrap materials without losing strength or quality. He showed them how a power window motor from an old car could become a wrist joint, how bicycle brake cables could mimic tendons. The lab buzzed with energy as mechanics and engineers blended their skills. Meanwhile, back in Adam's hometown, the news of his work spread. Neighbors who once worried about him started to feel proud. Daniel became a little hero in the town, showing off his improved arm to anyone who would watch. Donations poured in to support more projects. A local factory owner offered Adam an old warehouse space for free to start a workshop back home once he was ready. The town even organized a small festival in Adam's honor, putting up banners that said, "Our hero, our mechanic." Adam's heart swelled with pride, but also with humility. He had not done this to become a hero. He had done it because no child should feel less because of what they lacked. As Adam worked on new designs, he faced new challenges. Some materials were still expensive. Some ideas failed badly. There were moments when he felt overwhelmed by the pressure. But then he would think of Daniel, of Mia, of all the other kids waiting. Every failure was just another broken engine to fix. Every challenge was just another puzzle to solve. And slowly, steadily, Adam's project grew. His designs became lighter, stronger, easier to use. He learned from the engineers how to add simple sensors that could detect muscle movements. He learned from doctors how to make the prosthetics more comfortable. But he never lost his roots, building from what others threw away, seeing potential where others saw junk. One evening, after finishing the design of a new adjustable elbow joint made from a motorcycle suspension, Adam sat outside the lab watching the sunset. The city skyline looked less intimidating now. His hands, once only used for fixing broken cars, were now helping rebuild lives. He thought about his old garage, about the closed sign swinging in the wind, and he smiled. Life had a funny way of working out when you kept believing, when you kept trying to fix what others had given up on. Somewhere above the noise of traffic and planes, Adam heard a distant helicopter. This time, it didn't feel strange. It felt like an old friend coming back with new dreams. Months passed and Adam's designs began changing the lives of many children across the country. His prosthetic arms were not just affordable, they were reliable and durable, designed with love and practical wisdom. Families who once thought they could never give their children a normal life now had hope. News channels started running stories about the jobless mechanic who changed the world. Adam received letters from parents, drawings from children, and invitations to speak at schools and hospitals. But despite the fame, he remained the same humble man who loved fixing things. He refused fancy interviews and big award ceremonies. His heart belonged to the workshop, to the place where problems found solutions through honest work. Adam's real reward was seeing a child throw a ball, hold a pencil, or hug their parents with both arms. Adam finally decided it was time to go back to his town and build something permanent there. With the help of donations and the company's support, he opened a small facility in the old warehouse offered by the factory owner. The place was simple, with rows of tools, bins of recycled parts, and workstations where mechanics, young and old, could learn to build prosthetic arms. Adam called it the fixer's hope. He trained others the way he knew best, through practice, patience, and problem-solving. Some of the new trainees were unemployed workers like he once was, others were young people looking for purpose. Together, they turned scrap into strength, broken metal into dreams. The community embraced the project like it was their own. Volunteers helped paint the walls bright colors. Teachers brought students on field trips to learn about kindness and invention, and local businesses donated materials. Even the mayor visited one day and declared that the town was now famous not for its broken streets or closed factories, but for its beating heart of hope. Adam knew that success wasn't measured by the money in your pocket, but by the lives you touched. Every time he saw a child walk out with a new arm, smiling and waving proudly, he felt richer than any millionaire. One morning, as Adam tightened the final bolts on a new design meant for a teenage girl who loved playing guitar, he heard the familiar thump of helicopter blades. He stepped outside and saw a sleek black helicopter landing once again in the old football field. This time, he felt no fear. A group of people stepped out, dressed in simple clothes but carrying an air of importance. Leading them was a woman who introduced herself as part of an international humanitarian organization. They had heard about Adam's work and wanted to take his designs global. There were millions of children in poor countries who needed affordable prosthetics, and they believed Adam's approach could change lives everywhere. They invited Adam to partner with them, to help set up small workshops like the Fixer's Hope in different parts of the world. They wanted him to train local mechanics, just like he had trained people in his town, teaching them how to use what was available, how to see possibilities in scrap, and how to build with their hearts as well as their hands. Adam stood quietly for a long time, feeling the weight of the opportunity. It was bigger than anything he had ever dreamed, but it was exactly what he had been working for without even knowing. He thought of all the Daniels and MIAs of the world, waiting for someone to believe in them. With quiet determination, Adam agreed. Plans were made quickly. Adam would travel to different countries, spending a few weeks in each place setting up workshops, training teams, and sharing his knowledge. The first destination was a small village in South America, where kids often lost limbs to accidents and diseases but had no access to expensive medical care. Adam packed lightly, just some clothes, a notebook filled with sketches, and a heart full of hope. Before leaving, he walked through his workshop, touching the worn workbenches, the simple tools, the smiling photos of the kids they had already helped. He promised himself he would never lose the spirit that had started everything. In South America, Adam found different challenges, language barriers, shortage of parts, rough conditions, but the spirit of the people was the same. They were proud, strong, and willing to learn. Adam taught them how to strip old bicycles for cables, how to turn car window motors into flexible joints, how to use simple leather straps for comfort and fit. He learned as much from them as they learned from him. Every time a child strapped on a new arm, every time a mother cried tears of joy, Adam felt his belief grow stronger. He was not just fixing machines. He was rebuilding lives. Over the next few years, Adam traveled to many countries. He worked in dusty workshops in Africa, small sheds in Southeast Asia, and crowded rooftops in India. Everywhere he went, he left behind teams of trained mechanics who could carry on the mission. Back home, the Fixer's Hope grew into a network, connecting all the workshops around the world, sharing ideas, improvements, and stories. Adam never cared for medals or certificates. What mattered to him were the photos pinned to his walls, photos of kids riding bicycles, painting pictures, playing soccer, holding their parents' hands with both arms. One evening, many years after that first meeting with Daniel, Adam returned to his hometown for a special celebration. The town square was decorated with lights and banners. Hundreds of people had gathered, friends, families, children wearing prosthetic arms built by Adam's trainees. There was laughter, music, and speeches, but Adam stayed near the back, smiling quietly. When the mayor invited him to the stage, the crowd erupted into cheers. Adam stood before them, humbled beyond words. He looked at the faces glowing with happiness, at the hands raised high, some mechanical, some natural, all full of life. He spoke simply, telling them that true strength came not from what you had, but from what you chose to give. That fixing what was broken, whether it was a machine, a life, or a dream, was the greatest work anyone could do. That night, as fireworks lit up the sky and the town celebrated, Adam sat on the steps of his old garage, now rebuilt into a training center. He looked up at the stars, feeling a deep peace. He had once been a jobless mechanic, a man with nothing but a pair of skilled hands and a stubborn heart. Now, those hands had built not just arms, but bridges of hope stretching across the world. Above him, a helicopter passed quietly across the sky, heading toward another place where hope was needed. Adam watched it fade into the night, smiling. Somewhere, someone was waiting, and he would be ready.